Jerry Johnston really loves cars. He calls himself Monza because he used to race a Chevy Monza on the streets. He's been racing for more than 30 years and is one of the most experienced racers in Oklahoma. Monza is really good at racing, and he's been on the TV show Street Outlaws since it started in 2013. People think Jerry Johnston could become the next king of the streets. But there was a terrible accident while they were filming in 2018, and it caused him to miss some big races because he hurt his back. That's cool, right? So will Monza, the famous racer, be able to win that title again? Come with us as we find out what really happened to Jerry Johnston from Street Outlaws. Jerry Johnston is a big name in street racing. He's been on the Discovery Channel's Street Outlaws and its spin-off Street Outlaws No Prep Kings, NPK, for many years. He's been racing for over 40 years. People know him for being quiet but really good at racing. But later on, fans noticed he wasn't on the 6th season of NPK. They started wondering what happened to him. Jerry Johnston's love for cars led him to start racing, starting with a Chevy Monza. Not much is known about his early life, but his racing skills spoke for themselves. He became famous in the 1980s for his racing talent. He was known for handling pressure well and making quick decisions while racing, which helped him become a top racer in street racing. When Monza arrived in Oklahoma, he was already known as a tough competitor. Other racers wanted to race against him to prove themselves. He's been on the list since 2006 because he's consistently performed well, showing he's still a strong contender in a brutal racing scene. Monza and Street Outlaws have a special connection. When he joined the Street Outlaws crew in 2013, it was a big moment for both him and the show. His racing skills and strong presence made him stand out and become a legend in the sport quickly. Being part of Street Outlaws. No Prep Kings showed how good he was on the track without any prep, but in 2023, things changed. Monza decided to leave the 6th season of NPK because of contract issues. He wanted more control over his racing career and needed to make sure he could support himself. Racing wasn't just a hobby for Monza, it was how he made a living. That's why he decided to focus on his financial stability and have more freedom to race, especially with his new 1970 Chevelle SS. Jerry Johnston's life isn't just about racing. He's been married to Tammy Johnston since 1986, and they have 2 kids named Brandon and Brittany. Their family is all about sticking together and helping each other out, which gives Jerry a sense of stability when he's not racing. Their strong relationship shows a side of Jerry that's all about loyalty and staying strong, even when things get tough. Unlike some other famous couples who have lots of drama. Even though Monza is famous, not much is known about his personal life, like where he grew up, went to school, or his family. This mystery makes him even more interesting, both on and off the track. Monza has faced some tough times. In 2018, he had a big accident while filming, and his car got really messed up. But he didn't let that stop him. He got back to racing quickly, showing how strong and determined he was. His ability to keep going, even when things get tough, shows how much he loves the sport and how dedicated he is to it. Jerry Johnston doesn't talk much. He prefers to let his racing skills do the talking on the streets. When he does speak, it's usually about cars or racing. Not much is known about his life before racing. It's a bit of a mystery. Jerry admits he's been tinkering with cars forever. He got the nickname Monza from racing with the Chevy Monza, but his dream car has always been the 73 Rally Sport Split Bumper Camaro. Jerry always dreamed of owning one, but he couldn't afford it until he got the Chevy Monza and his current Camaro. Before that, Jerry worked on several project cars, a 1968 El Camino, a 1970 Nova, and a 1971 Challenger. He sold the Chevy Monza after getting a 1972 split-bumper Camaro from Joe Woods, known as Dominator on Street Outlaws. When Jerry got the car, it was old and not much, but he made it into a great race car. Jerry started racing in the 80s when street racing was secret, not like now when everyone knows about it. Apart from street racing, he also raced in some series competitions. In 2006, Jerry raced in a class called Mod Street, where he drove Mustangs with Chevy engines. He won the championship in the first year and came back the following year to win it again, even though some people thought his driving was too aggressive. However, most people also think Jerry Johnston is really calm when he's racing on the streets. He's really good at making quick decisions. His skill at judging situations helps him do well in street racing in Oklahoma. Over the years, Jerry has beaten his competitors many times. He's really tall at 6 feet 4 inches, so he stands out during races. That's why they asked him to be on Street Outlaws. He's been on the show since 2013, and the fans love him because he races in a really cool way. Jerry has been #1 a few times on Street Outlaws, which makes him the king of the streets. Lately, however, he hasn't been doing as well, and he is ranked #7 on the show's list of best racers. So what really happened to Jerry Johnston, and why hasn't he been doing as well in the past few years? In the 6th episode of the 5th season of Street Outlaws, Jerry got into a big accident while racing Chuck. Chuck was trying to take Jerry's spot as #6 on the list. Jerry was stuck at #6, so he was working on his car to make it better and faster. He said on the show, "Being #6 is no fun. Losing to Joe over and over is no fun. Always having to catch up in every race is no fun. So we need to make this car faster to the 330. Jerry's 1972 Camaro Rally Sport, called Sinister Split Bumper, ran on a nitrous motor but didn't have rear-wheel steering. He upgraded the turbo to make more power, but that made it hard to keep the car straight. So Jerry and his team decided to add rear-wheel steering to help the car stay straight at really fast speeds. But the rear-wheel steering made the back of the car wobble from side to side. Before racing against Chuck, Jerry spent a bunch of money to upgrade his car as much as possible. He and his team worked hard to make sure the new upgrades would work well. Jerry thought the car was all set to race. But just before the race, he didn't have enough time to see how the car would handle the new upgrades. On the night of the race, Jerry lined up next to Chuck's 1989 Ford Fox body, known as the Death Trap. When the light turned green, they both hit the gas as hard as they could. But Chuck was much faster than Jerry and crossed the finish line first. Then, things went wrong. As they finished, Chuck used his parachute to slow down his car. But Jerry tried to stop his Camaro only with the brakes. The car spun out of control, rolling over almost 4 times before finally stopping. Luckily, Jerry was okay, but his Camaro was severely damaged. Even though Jerry didn't get hurt, he lost the race to Chuck. Jerry said the accident happened because he couldn't press the parachute button quickly enough. He had his finger on the scramble button trying to win the race. As he crossed the finish line, his car started bouncing, the brakes locked up, and the crash happened. After the crash, Jerry said his neck hurt a bit, but otherwise he was okay. He had put a lot of safety features in his car, so he didn't get hurt badly. But fixing the car cost him a ton of money to get it ready for racing again. Chuck, who had to avoid crashing into Jerry's car, said after the accident, "All I could think about was getting out of my car as fast as I could and running to Monza. I wanted to make sure he was okay and that we both could race again another day." Jerry lived to race another day, but that accident wasn't the only problem he faced in his racing career. In 2019, he couldn't race at the 2nd Street Outlaws No Prep Kings event in New Hampshire. A Facebook post said Jerry had severe back pain and needed surgery to fix it. Luckily, the surgery went well with no problems, and the series took a break for a month before coming back on TV. We don't know if Jerry's racing caused his injuries, but it might have played a part. Jerry is still part of Street Outlaws and plans to stay on the show and keep racing on the streets. But it might take some time before he becomes the king of the streets again. Even though Jerry isn't at the top of the list on Street Outlaws, he has one of the most excellent cars on the show. He's still one of the best racers, too. Jerry gets paid for every episode he's in, and people think he's worth about $500,000. But keeping a race car running costs a ton of money, so we don't think Jerry has that much money just sitting in a bank, not being used for racing. Jerry really enjoys spending time with his family. They all help him keep racing. Jerry married his wife Tammy in 1986, and they're still together. They have 2 kids, Brandon and Brittany. Throughout his career as a street racer and TV star, Jerry has always been cheerful, and his fans love him for it. He's a good guy that a lot of people look up to, and he's never done anything to make people think otherwise. Jerry really loves racing, and he's not planning to stop anytime soon. He wants to keep being on Street Outlaws and racing on different circuits. Thinking about the future, Monza's impact goes beyond just racing. He has a YouTube channel with almost 3 million views, where fans can see his life on and off the track. He shares videos about car stuff, testing, and even his hobby of fishing. Monza keeps connecting with fans all over the world, adding to the street racing culture. As the street racing world moves forward, Jerry Monza Johnston's legacy grows. He's not just a racer but also a family guy and an influencer. Even though he's not on No Prep Kings anymore, it's just a new start for him. There's more to come from him, and his story shows how street racing keeps drawing people in with its excitement, and how racers like Monza keep pushing forward no matter what. In street racing, Jerry Monza Johnston's name stands out with a mix of mystery and admiration. He's not just a racer but a symbol of determination and skill. His story in the fast-paced world of street racing, especially on Street Outlaws and No Prep Kings, is all about hard work, talent, and a love for speed that never fades. When Monza started racing his first Chevy Monza, everyone knew something special had arrived in street racing. He didn't talk much, but his racing skills spoke volumes. As he became more known in the 1980s, people talked more about how good he was. Monza wasn't just a racer, he changed racing itself. He was great at fixing cars and coming up with new ideas, mixing technical know-how with a natural feel for speed. When Monza joined Street Outlaws, it wasn't just luck, it was meant to be. His skills made the show even better, adding depth and know-how. His races weren't just about winning, they were lessons in how to race smart and strategically. As he moved into No Prep Kings, Monza showed that street racing isn't just about winning. It's about the thrill of the race itself, proving why he's a legend in the sport. Jerry Monza Johnston is more than just a racer. He's a family guy too. His life with his wife Tammy and their kids Brandon and Brittany shows another side of him, away from the racing scene. Their strong marriage, kept away from the usual drama of fame, shows what kind of person Jerry really is. It's not often talked about, but it makes us respect and admire him even more for how he handles fame with grace and strength. Monza's career shows how tough you have to be to stay on top in street racing. After a big accident in 2018, he didn't give up. Instead, he saw it as something to overcome, a challenge to keep chasing his passion. His determination to keep getting better, even after setbacks, has inspired lots of fans and racers around the world. Today, Jerry Monza Johnston is still a big deal in street racing. He keeps growing his legacy by talking to fans, being on social media, and showing what he's like outside of racing. On his YouTube channel, he talks about racing tricks, his hobbies, and life lessons. It's a guide for anyone who loves speed and cars. As Monza looks ahead, his story keeps showing how much you can achieve in street racing, capturing the excitement and passion of the sport. His contributions have made street racing better and paved the way for future racers. By honoring Jerry Monza Johnston, we honor an absolute legend whose story goes beyond the track, touching the hearts of fans and shaping the history of motorsport. Fans, racers, and enthusiasts all hope to see Jerry Monza Johnston on Street Outlaws for a long time. He's not just there to race, he's there to leave a legacy, teach lessons, and bring excitement to every episode. Monza represents what street racing is all about: bravery, creativity, and never giving up. His story motivates us, his wins thrill us, and even when things don't go his way, he teaches us about not giving up. The idea of seeing Monza face new challenges, help new racers, and most importantly, keep loving racing is incredibly exciting. Let's hope Monza's journey on Street Outlaws keeps going, bringing us more amazing races, moments of victory, and the inspiring story of a legend who shows us what street racing is all about every time his engine roars. So guys, let's know your thoughts on Jerry Johnston and what you think could really become of his career. Until then, see you in next video.